GM Sports Network.
This is Chip Gilchrist, voice of the Kingston Frontenacs. You're listening to OHL Overtime, an in-depth interview show highlighting the players, coaches, and broadcasters from around the Ontario Hockey League who make the league so great, as well as in-person coverage of events such as the OHL Playoffs, OHL Championship Series, OHL Combine, and more, exclusively on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Here's your program host, Brandon Caputo.
Welcome into our first OHL Postgame Posse Roundtable right here on OHL Overtime and a part of the OHL on 60 podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Brandon Caputo live here from Canada Life Place. We're going to break down Game 1 of the OHL Championship Series between the Oshawa Generals and the London Knights. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel and those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Oshawa Generals take down the London Knights for their first defeat in the OHL playoffs, now falling to 12-1 on the playoffs thanks to a 4-2 win from the Oshawa Generals. I'm pleased to welcome on the posse here with Reece and Colin Ward from the OHL on 60 podcast, as well as Joel Vanderlaan, a contributor for us here on the network. Gentlemen, I'll start off. Thanks a lot for joining us, and first of many on this channel. I know you guys have some thoughts. So first off, I'm going to start off with Reece on this one. Reece, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's going to be fun, to get the real roundtable going after every game in the OHL Championship Series. I think it's going to be fun, and it's not going to be a 4-game sweep like it was last year. So that'll give us a ton of opportunities to share our opinions on thoughts on each game. So, no, I'm pumped. This is going to be fun.
Joel Vanderlaan, your Trenton Golden Hawks are doing good things right now as well, but appreciate you being able to cover and follow along with the OHL stuff as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really excited to get this going with you guys. And if Game 1's any indication of what the series is going to be, it's going to be a fun ride for all of us.
And last but not least, Colin Ward, never a man short of words. Colin, I know you have a lot to say, and look forward to getting your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it. Yeah, Reece, it's very nice to be a part of a good round table. We got a 7-game series here. This is going 7. What a Game 1. Undisciplined from the Knights side, but you give a team 9 power plays, and especially a team like Oshawa, who has the best player in the league, in Callum Ritchie, and arguably the second best in Beckett Seneca, especially in this postseason, how good they've been. It's tough to beat. They're a tough team to beat when you give them 9 power play opportunities. So
this is going to be a very informal chat, guys. It's not going to be like our normal game recaps that you've kind of listened to all season long and throughout the playoffs. We do have post-game audio from both sides with Dale Hunter and Kasper Halttunen from London side and then Oshawa side with Brad Malone, as well as Andrew Gibson, who scored 2 goals in this game. But it's going to be just a general sort of discussion, and we'll play the post-game interview whenever we get around to it. But, Reece, let's start there, and I'll kind of let you guys just kind of open it up like an open debate that you'd see in politics, which thank God we're not doing a political debate on tonight's show. But, Reece, what were your initial thoughts on Oshawa being able to come out here and do what they did, knowing, the wounds that they licked after last year's final, losing in 4 games, and it really, wasn't very competitive in all the 4 games. With the bright lights of London and with TSN covering the games and, a team that had a lot to prove as the underdog in their last 2 series against Brantford and Barrie. What were your thoughts on the way Oshawa came out tonight?
If we did a political show, we'd be canceled in 5 minutes after we got on the air.
No doubt.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing.
11.
But you know what? I think what's more impressive is the fact that they came into the third period trailing by a goal, and they scored all 3 in the final frame. I think that speaks volumes to the Oshawa Generals and kind of the difference between last year and this year. Obviously, we're not talking about the same team. You don't really have to be an expert to say that, but I think when the Generals look back at that series, they take a lot away. But also, I think it's a situation where you just, okay, it happened. We got our Bobby Orr trophy. All right, let's chase it. Let's run it back next season. And they're in that exact position right now, and they're one game better than they were a year ago against the London Knights. So, no, I thought it was an all-around great road game from the Oshawa Generals. If there was going to be, and I think I'm safe to say that it would be an upset with the Oshawa Generals if they were to represent the Ontario Hockey League at the Memorial Cup in Rimouski, that they were going to have to take one in London. I mean, that's common sense. If it goes 7, you obviously have to take one on the road. But, to take one of the first 2, I think is a really huge step to where the Generals want to get and where they wanted to be last year. And that's at the top. That's with an OHL championship, another banner hanging at the Tribute Community Center, and some more rings around the fingers of the players and the executives in Oshawa. So great third period by the Generals. Took advantage of the opportunities when they got them in that final frame. And, when you score 4 on Austin Elliott the way he's played all season long since coming over from technically Barrie, but in terms of on the ice at Saskatoon, you're going to win more nights than not. So the Generals with a great third period played an overall great road game.
Anybody can jump in.
All right, Joel.
I think when you look at Oshawa too, you kind of see the maturity of Beckett Seneca, Ben Danford. Last year they were 17-year-olds. Now they've taken that leap, and they both played huge minutes tonight for Oshawa. And then you look at their acquisitions throughout the season. How big was Gibson tonight with 2 goals? How big was Kobe Barlow with 2 assists? So they're not, as kind of to Reece's point, they're not the same team that was here last year. And it's a credit to their management staff. It's a credit to these players for how they've developed, how they've grown, and how they've come together.
I echo what both you guys said, Reece and Joel. I mean, you look at the maturity level of their game tonight, they're ready to go. They had to think about that all season this year. They were playing for this moment as much as London's trying to play for the Mem Cup final where they were last year. Oshawa, it feels like all season long, and you see this throughout the Eastern Conference, and every single time you watch them play, you see that what they were playing for, and they're playing for this moment that they're in right now. And we saw that firsthand tonight in Game 1 of the OHL final. You see the maturity level to their game. Buckley as well, guys like that, Torrance with the big hit on Sim early on in the game, like those moments like that. Last year, they didn't get those moments. They didn't get the big hit. They had a couple big moments throughout the season against London in the head-to-head, but they didn't get those big moments last year in the finals. Now they got that. Jacob Oster, he knows what it takes now. That's the big one. Last year, and you heard that, and you're going to hear that soon, like Jacob Oster last season in the OHL, I mean, he looked out of gas in the finals. That's a long run for Oshawa in the Eastern Conference, where it was like, who's gonna have to play 4 games or possibly 5 games with the London Knights last season? It was Saginaw or London. Whoever won that conference final was going to the Memorial Cup, and it felt like the Eastern champion, you're going to get an Eastern championship banner, but that's it. This year, it feels like there's a purpose in the East. The East was the beast of the East this year. And I'm not as surprised that we saw this. And then going back to the 2022 finals for Reece and I at the Bulldogs, you see the 2022 finals, Game 1, where Windsor came out and punched him in the mouth. They're ready for that. And I think that with Oshawa, they're an older team. Seneca never got to play last year in the finals. And when you look at that, and when you look at Danford as the captain who blocks a ton of shots, I mean, I counted like 6 block shots tonight just alone on the couple power play opportunities by the Knights. Like, when you look at the maturity level to their game, they have improved a ton. And Jacob Oster, I mean, saw it firsthand this season in round 2. When Oshawa is up against the wall, Jacob Oster is perfect. And I don't think it's a surprise for how good he's been in his career and how much he's overcome adversity throughout his career. But we saw that tonight in Game 1, where Jacob Oster, when he has a moment, when they need him most, 2 minutes left after they score a goal, the London empty net, he'll make a couple big saves in front of the Generals. I mean, I was really impressed. And like you said, Joel, with their general manager, Roger Hunt, making those moves, right? You see the veteran guys that were on last year's team that were young kids that got that experience. Then they step up this year. You see them have a pivotal role tonight in Game 1. Then you see the Gibson ad. You see the Barlow ad. And also you see the Noah Powell ad. And then the point streak wasn't there, but you see those guys get better, and you see what Griffin's doing. I mean, the kid's got his draft stock's going up a ton. Not very big, but I mean, if you're going to keep on putting up points like that and you're going to keep on getting into good spots on the ice, you're gonna have success at the next level. and you're for sure going to get a look. It doesn't matter what your size is nowadays with the NHL and the way the players are built.
Reece, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and to your point, Colin, with Jacob Oster specifically, and again, you'll hear Brad Malone and what he had to say, but you think back to last year, and I don't want to say they were 3 unnecessary games because, I guess technically 4, against the North Bay Battalion, where the Oshawa Generals were in complete control of the Eastern Conference Finals, blow the 3-0 lead, and then they have to play a Game 7 and end up winning. Whereas this year, obviously on the Barrie side, you've got Van Steensel, you've got Wakely, you've got Romani, who, have an understanding of how to come back down 3-0 because they did it the year before, right?
100%.
And having a little bit of revenge there. But then you can look on the other side with the Oshawa Generals, like maybe those 4 extra games or 3 extra games against the North Bay Battalion last year kind of hurt them.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they got the win, whereas this year they have the discipline, they have the understanding, they have the maturity where, you know what, we don't want to play a 7-game series while London sits at home and hangs out. So let's close it out now. And they had that extended break here before this year's final.
100%. You get the extra video session. I mean, we all know about this covering our teams, guys. Video, and I know the hands-on stuff, the on-ice stuff is what it is, but the video sessions nowadays are so important. They're so crucial. And I mean, you learned a lot, right, from last season, how much you see from video. Obviously, London didn't have a lot to show for it either, but you see a lot throughout. And the Oshawa Generals are arguably the best team that the London Knights have played. And I mean, it's well-deserved for the finals. I mean, Oshawa's a beast, and you look at their playoff run so far this year, and we talked about this off air before, guys, with the defensive cores that the Oshawa Generals have went against in this postseason. You're looking at guys like Leskovar and Connor Smith, and Connor Smith is probably the unit of the Ontario Hockey League. You're not going to meet a tougher defenseman in the OHL than Connor Smith in just round 1. And guys, we all know how much of a gauntlet the postseason is. I mean, the postseason's tough, and you're going to meet the physicality. Round 1, when you get that from a Brampton team, round 2, you get Brantford with what they have to offer with the Budniks, the Hammers, the Juraceks, the Prats. And then you look at round 3. I mean, with Barrie, Eliasson's a big, strong defenseman out of Ottawa. And I mean, you got some big, tough guys. It's a tough run. They've had to earn this run. And that's why maybe Oshawa is better prepared for London than London's prepared for Oshawa. And I know that's kind of a hot take, but I think in round 1 we definitely saw that.
So I'll kind of lead you guys into the next thought here. We're going to get to the post game here in just a little bit, but people are going to look at the box score, guys, and they're going to see that Oshawa had 9 power plays to London's 3, including 2 double minors that were handed out to the Knights. Joel, we'll start with you. Do you think that London was just undisciplined tonight? Did you think that they were off their game? Do you think Oshawa and the way that their guys are able to kind of draw penalties, or do you think the officiating knew coming in that they would have to call it tougher, knowing that London has some guys that try to get under the other team's skin, like the Landon Sims and the Ryder Boltons and things like that?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit uncharacteristic. I mean, you look at the Sim cross-checking penalty on Danford, that's a penalty that can't happen. Bonk a little careless with his stick on Seneke there, and that's the double minor that helps get Oshawa back into the hockey game. So I don't think you can point it at the refs. I think those were penalties, and for the most part, it was a well-called game. So, I mean, you're going to look at it, it's going to be kind of eye-popping 9 power play opportunities, but a lot of those were penalties. A lot of it was kind of, like we said, things that can't happen in a game of this magnitude, and it cost them tonight.
11 minors, Reece. Were you shocked by that for London's side? Or even the goalie interference challenge as well.
Yeah, you know what? The 11 minors is what it is. I thought 2 of them were just, I don't know why the referees even put their arm in the air, but I mean, wow, that takes you down to 9 minors. I mean, so really, and even the power plays, you take the 2 away that I thought were a little iffy, it's still 7. So that's not ideal, right? But in terms of the goalie interference, that one's tough. Initially I'm like, are we seeing a replay of what Simon Wang did in round 2 against the Bulldogs, where he just, I can't remember who the Bulldog was, but he shoved him right into Jacob Oster for no reason whatsoever. And Colin and I can have an hour-long chat. Nick Rosetto, yes, thank you. But Colin, you and I can have a chat about how stupid we think it is. You push a guy into your own goalie. But for this one, it was a little more. Cowan was already there. There was a little bit of contact. It looked like the stick got into Oster. Maybe he caught a piece of his blocker as well. And then obviously he was shoved in there. But at first I'm like, that probably should be a goal. But then you look at the overhead and you're thinking, call on the ice is no goal. They're probably going to go with no goal just because he's in the blue. Maybe there was a little contact. So I mean, other than 2 calls, the first penalty to London that I don't know what that is. We're playing hockey, but and one more. I mean, I thought it was fine. And I know people are going to overreact because it's the OHL Championship Series. But Joel, I think you said it perfectly. I thought it was a well-called game minus 2 calls.
Colin, we had a lot of fights, especially on London's side in the first 3 series they played. We know that they like to set the tone with that. Do you think Oshawa came out and knew that they kind of had to stay away from that? Or do you think that was just kind of how the game played out, that London didn't really want to get the crowd going with a couple of tilts?
It's interesting because London's been a team that's throughout the years. I mean, grew up around London Knights. I mean, every single team, they have a tough guy. Every team, they have a person that can play on that line, that fine line that we talk about, and they can cross it at times, but they play that line, and I mean, hey, their head coach played that way. And it had a very successful career at the next level playing that way. So they've always had that guy on their team. I'm not surprised by that. And also, Oshawa is a team that can play on that line as well. There's some guys, and there's some big-name guys on Oshawa. So I'm looking at Landon Sims' role, right? And Landon Sims' role in this series is so crucial to the London Knights' success. You can't have him in the box. He's a guy that's going to be in the box. He's going to draw guys with him to the box, which is crucial about him. But when I look at this series, right, and I see this, the way this playing out, when I see Landon Sims' role, and he's played this role now for 3 seasons now with the London Knights, and it's always been, I'm going to take the other team's best player. That's my guy that I watch. In this case, I think it's Callum Ritchie, Beckett Seneca. First off, I think those are the 2 guys that Sim has to be out on the ice there against. When you get out against Beckett Seneca, I think his role is you got to know where Seneca is. Seneca's a guy that plays on the line. He's not afraid to go to the penalty box. And that's a matchup that London needs to go after. It just never worked out that well. And, hey, props to Beckett Seneca. The only time in the box, quote me if I'm wrong, but with Easton Cowan on the goalie interference, that shouldn't have been a goalie interference, but it wasn't a goalie interference. But anyway, I think that's the only case that with Sim, it just didn't go his way tonight. I mean, it's a tough role. Oshawa knows that. That might be a role, too, later on in the series when you're really going to notice that. The grueling part of the series when you get to know each other a little better and you get to have fun in the workplace. Guys, we all know what it's like when we get to work with somebody we don't like. All of a sudden, hey, day 3 comes by, and all of a sudden we voice our displeasures, and that's what happens on the ice as well. And I think that's what's going to happen with Sim and Beckett Seneca. I think those are 2 guys that are really going to go at it. And I think that's part of Sim's role. He's got to be out on the ice when Seneca's out on the ice because Seneca's a game changer, and we saw that in Game 1, and we saw it throughout the playoffs.
Quickly go over the goals here. Van Bommel takes the pass from Noah Reed, and that was with a 4:05 mark of the second period, so no goals in the first period. London got off to that lead with the 4th line. You're thinking, okay, that's a good start for them. Andrew Gibson comes back just a bit later on the power play, evens it up at the 10:08 mark, and then we had Kasper Halttunen giving London the lead late at the end of the second period to give London the lead there heading into the third on one of their only power play goal of the night before 3 straight goals by Oshawa at the 8:18 mark, 16:35, and then the empty netter by Matthew Buckley. Gibson with another power play marker. All 3 of their goals for Oshawa were on the power play before they got the empty netter from Buckley, 2 from Gibson, and then 1 from Callum Ritchie. Joel, what were your thoughts on London having a 2-1 lead going to the third period? You think that's almost automatic with the Dale Hunter team? Start the bus, they would like to say, even though they're at home here, but you know what I mean by that. But regardless, like the way that they're able to break you down defensively and just really give you nothing, for Oshawa to be able to score 2 in the third and then the third with the empty netter, that's something you don't see against London a lot.
No, and I think to your point, right, you think, okay, London's in control of this game. They have last line change. They're going to kind of slowly bleed this game away, but those penalties creep in, and Oshawa gets some life, and Gibson, Ritchie, these high-end star players get Oshawa back into the hockey game, and from there they're able to ice it with Matthew Buckley. So I think you probably feel pretty good with that late power play goal from Kasper Halttunen going into the intermission, thinking, okay, if we play our game here, stay out of the box, we probably win this hockey game or have a very good chance to win it. But those penalties really came to bite them in the third there.
Reece, what did you think of 3 unanswered by Oshawa against this Knights team?
Yeah, stay out of the box. You win that hockey game. Every goal that beat a goaltender was a power play goal. I thought London played really well 5-on-5, to be honest with you. Like those penalties just killed any momentum they were able to build 5-on-5. And, again, credit to the Generals. They really, I don't want to say chased the game, but they were really defending a lot when it was 5-on-5. I thought the London Knights really did a nice job controlling the pace 5-on-5. But again, you kill yourselves by taking those penalties 200 feet away from your own net that are completely unnecessary. And like I said, you play 5-on-5 the entire night, you win the hockey game. So I thought penalty kill looked good in the first for the Knights, but after that, the Generals started to understand how the Knights were going to defend them, and they figured out a way to move the puck around and beat Austin Elliott. So, again, you score 3 goals in any period, you have a pretty good shot to win. But to do it in the third after giving up one with 1:03 left in the second period, it is huge. And it was the Stars putting on a show. Gibson, Ritchie, Morelli, Powell, D'Amato. Obviously, you have the empty netter with Buckley and Barlow, but the Stars really shined bright for the Oshawa Generals, and they did a really nice job responding after a late goal from the London Knights in the second.
Colin, we talk about London takes away something that you're really good at. It's an old adage in football, taking away something that the opposing offense is good at and make them beat you with other guys. It seemed like tonight Oshawa came into this game knowing that London was going to play them a certain way, and they tried to kind of turn the tides on them, knowing how good they are in the penalty kill, how good they are in the face-off dot, how good they are at drawing penalties. And it seemed like Oshawa tonight was able to play the Knights game in almost a role reversal of what you would expect coming in and maybe what they saw last year in the final.
Well, 100%, Brandon. Oshawa does a really good job. Reece and I saw this in round 2. Oshawa does a really good job getting behind the opposing defense in the O-zone. They're on top of the other team's goalie. They really get on top of the opponent goaltender. They get behind the defense. They get the defense in awkward situations. Guys like Beckett Seneca, they're so big, right? Like, they use their size so well, and they go to the net, and it feels like they don't pass up shots. And when you do that, the game moves quick, and it can speed the mental process up for the opponent. And that's what happened tonight for the Knights. The game moved faster than it did throughout any playoff game for the London Knights this season. I'm sure it would have been interesting to actually get a decent response in the post-game tonight, because if we got that, I'm sure that would have been admitted. The game process with the Oshawa Generals, it's faster than any other team in the league. It's similar to London Knights, actually. Those two teams both play the same process where the game can move so fast, and it's hard to get mentally up there. And the game just moves too fast for you, and I feel like that's what happened. They do a good job drawing penalties for sure. I think part of it's not diving. I think they just get behind the defense. They get on top of the goalie. They get them in vulnerable situations, and that's how you draw penalties. And I mean, when this series, guys, let's be honest, this series is going to be what Stars take games over compared to what the other team Stars take games over. And tonight, the Oshawa General Stars took a game over where the London Knights Stars did not. And that's what the game's going to come down to. That's what the series is going to come down to. I mean, goaltending, you look at the goaltending in the series, you look at the defense in the series, I mean, look at the forwards in the series. We have at least 6 guys in this series that are going to play NHL hockey games possibly next season. Like, this is a series. This is NHL hockey right now, and I feel like when you get those opportunities, that's how you're going to win the game. And I think tonight's game, the Oshawa Generals played their role to a T. When we see the Oshawa Generals play throughout the season, guys, when they're most successful, they really get to the net. They come at you in waves, and they shoot the puck. They're a team that's not afraid to shoot the puck, and I think that kind of caught London off guard tonight.
Other than the penalties, because we can obviously talk about that all night long, and that wasn't the only thing that we should talk about in this game. I know there were a couple breakaways on each side. Beckett Seneca had a breakaway. Easton Cowan had a shorthanded breakaway. Was there any sort of moments or takeaways from the game that you thought were, a momentum changer or something that's not going to show up on the box score? Yeah. Joel, we'll start with you. Anything catch your eye tonight?
Yeah, I think Jacob Oster, especially early in the game, some of the saves he made just to keep Oshawa in it, keep them close. And you can say the same about Austin Elliott, really. I thought both goalies were really good tonight. Obviously, Elliott doesn't even get beat 5-on-5, so I think both goalies really stood out to me.
24-game unbeaten streak for Austin Elliott comes to an end, Reece.
Yeah. It might have gone to overtime if Easton Cowan scores on a penalty shot.
That too. Forgot about that one too.
Yeah, that's a big one for me. You can talk about the breakaways, of course, but you get the penalty shot, and I'm not saying it's an automatic goal for Easton Cowan. We all saw what he did with his point streak over two different seasons, and we know he can score. But that was a big moment in the game. Whereas, if Oster doesn't make the save and Easton Cowan finds the back of the net, that's at that point. I'm just trying to do math. It's very hard for me. It would have made it 2-1 at that time. Yeah, it was a tough subject in school, but at the time makes it 2-1. Halttunen's goal makes it 3-1, and you head into the third period up 2 goals, and you can play a little bit more of a defensive game compared to 2-1, where 2 goals really isn't enough to win in the playoffs. So not to say that they would have played it safe that way if it was 3-1, but you look at that moment in the game, and Oster keeps it tied. Just 4 minutes after Andrew Gibson tied the game. So that was a big moment. Ultimately, London was able to score the next goal anyways, but to keep it 2-1 through 2 periods, that save really jumps out. And again, who knows where we'd be in that moment if Easton Cowan scores, if we'd be in overtime, if London would have kept on the gas pedal and we would have seen 4 or 5 goals from the night. Who knows? But in that moment, Jacob Oster really did a nice job of making a save when he had to. And we talk about that a lot with goaltenders is, especially if you lose, we didn't get a save in the big moment where you'd really like to get one. The Generals got one there from Jacob Oster.
Any thoughts, Colin?
No, 100% agree with both you guys. Jacob Oster, I have written down here 5 breakaway saves and a penalty shot save tonight. That's 6-point blanks. Jacob Oster made the save on the penalty shot that Austin Elliott didn't tonight with the goal from Andrew Gibson. I think that's a goal you want back if you're Gibson or if you're Elliott, to be honest, just because you're not squared up to the shooter there. You got to square up to the shooter on those ones. Gibson's a guy that's notoriously famous for those goals. When he gets down low and around the goal line like that, he'll throw it up top corner. He scored like that twice this year against the Bulldogs firsthand and for me in person this season. I think that those are goals that got to be eliminated by goalies. As a goaltender, I always used to hate those, right? Like, you got to square up. Those are goals that are preventable. And I feel like the Oshawa Generals got the big-time save in the big moment that the London Knights just didn't, and that was the big-time moment in the game when we look back at it, where it's like, okay, if Elliott stops that puck, if it just hits him in the glove, it's a routine glove save. He makes a stop there. All of a sudden, Jacob Oster's save doesn't mean as much, right? And looking back at it, Easton Cowan penalty shot, probably if it goes the other way, we're looking at overtime right now, and that's probably the way the game ended. And I think that's the biggest moment of the game. I mean, that was the decider. I think you look at the two sides. Oshawa got the big saves. The London Knights didn't at that one moment. And it's just one moment in a game, but hey, let's be honest, though, that's a playoff game. You're only going to, in a game like this, the margin of error, there's only going to be like 1 to 2 moments in a game. It's like trying to tackle Saquon Barkley, Joel, in the open field. If you're going to miss that tackle and he's going to go 75 yards to a touchdown like he did against the Kansas City Chiefs, nice job in the Super Bowl, Chiefs, go Broncos, you're not going to win those games. You're not going to win those games, and that's why in my opinion, they didn't win the game tonight.
Just like when I was just
and 9 power plays.
I was just going to Reece, I have nothing good to say. I was just going to say, just like at the end of a game when your entire kick blocking team just lets the offensive line just rush through.
Next question. Man. What happened in the last week of the season? Hey, the Falcons did get against the Broncos this year. B-Cap.
Reece, what were you going to say before Colin rudely interrupted?
No, I just, as Colin was going through it, I started to think about some of the other saves that Jacob Oster made, and there's a 2-on-1 early in the game that London had going down on Jacob Oster, where it was a little bit of a breakdown defensively from the Generals, and really from the top of the circles in, the London Knights had a 2-on-1, and Oster slides across to make a save. So, even there, we played through a scoreless first period that we saw only 8 shots combined. And when you look at the block shots, you can understand why. But out of those 8 shots, that was probably the most dangerous one for either side. So you can look back at that along with the penalty shot. You know, if London scores 1-0 that early in the game, who knows? Who knows if that goes in? But he made the save and he came up big again. Another situation where you just need a save to keep the crowd sort of mellow, not quiet, but not loud, kind of in the middle.
How big are those saves, guys, like that? And Reece, I'm glad you mentioned that 2-on-1, because if that goes in, think about the doubt that all of a sudden possibly creeps into the Oshawa Generals mindset.
Kind of like the here we go again.
Exactly. Here we go again. We're back where we were last year, right? And all of a sudden when it rains, it pours.
And that was Van Bommel and Reed again, who ended up connecting later on.
Yeah, like how, like that's so important, right? Like you got it, like that save too, Reece. I'm glad you mentioned that, because those 2-on-1s like that, it settles the nerves a little bit. It settles the defensive approach, and and you give up the first goal of the game, and that's tough, but you found a way to respond, and that's how you got to win road games.
Oster was first start tonight. Joel, will give you final thoughts before we go to the post-game interviews.
Yeah, I think it's like what Reece and Colin said, a lot for Jacob Oster. You look at last year in the finals, he gave up 7 goals in every game. He gave up 8 in the other. So for him, the confidence to get the first star honors, to build off a game like this, it's got to be huge for him after last year. And kind of, you don't want that doubt creeping into your teammates. I know they have full confidence in him, but you start to think back to that, and it's huge that he was able to pull out that performance and kind of put that behind him and put that to bed.
Let's go to the Oshawa Generals side first with head coach Brad Malone, as well as 2-goal scorer in this game in Andrew Gibson. Here they had to say following the big Game 1 victory.
Good evening and welcome to post-game coverage of Game 1 of the OHL Championship Series. The Oshawa Generals 4-2 winners tonight, joined by Generals head coach Brad Malone, along with defenseman Andrew Gibson. A warm welcome to those tuning in tonight live across the OHL's social media platforms. Coach, maybe we just start. Perseverance seemed to be a theme for your team tonight. Some opportunities in the early going didn't go your way, but you guys certainly didn't quit.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's been the story all year, is just continue to push, continue to believe. Good team on the other side, really good goaltenders. So just tried to stay consistent, not get frustrated, and just looking for a full 60 minutes and trying to get that result.
Andrew, a defenseman, 2 goals in an OHL Championship final game. Can you talk a little bit about how that feels and being able to contribute?
Yeah, it feels good, especially in the finals, but can't thank the guys around me enough, setting me up for those. And, the guys played really well all around. And, I got the bounces tonight, and, we'll see who gets the bounces next game. So, yeah.
Maybe, as the guy who plays in front of him, just a quick word for your goaltender, penalty shot save tonight, some big stops there late.
Yeah, Ozzy was huge, a couple breakaways in the penalty shot, like you said. But, he played unreal for us, and, I think he's the reason why we kept going and we were in that game still, and why we won.
Take questions. Please just wait for the mic to come, guys.
Brad, that team was, how many NHL picks they have on their team and how hyped they were, and they were 12-0. What does it mean to beat them?
It means we won Game 1 of the series. All year it's been about us. Obviously, ton of talent, ton of bright futures over there on the other side. But message all year is just to continue to focus on ourselves. And we had a good week to get prepared. And obviously, like Gibby said, we were fortunate tonight. We got some bounces. We got some big saves.
Hey, Andrew, you played here a lot, and it's not many times you get 9 power plays against the Knights, but how did the power play evolve? We know you had a good one, but how did it evolve tonight from the early misses to cashing in later on?
Yeah, obviously we didn't capitalize in the first couple, but I think it brought the momentum to our team, and I think we built off of it. And like you said, later in the game we started capitalizing on those plays. We started taking advantage of those. So it's huge to have those power plays, and we got a lot of skill on our power play, so it's looking good.
Coach, talk about you've been able to win the first game on the road the last 2 series. How big is that, for a team that doesn't have home ice advantage in the series to win one of the games on the road quickly?
Yeah, it's just been our focus. Obviously, worried about Game 1, worried about the preparation, the details, the focus. To be honest, all year we had a hard time on the road. It's been one of the things that kind of caught us off guard a lot. We'd show up, have a bad start, or give something away late. It's been a point of emphasis. We started, trying to tweak certain things in terms of routine just to try and find the right groove. And, since playoffs, certainly I think we found that.
Andrew, like was mentioned earlier, when you were playing with the Sioux, you played against London a lot. Was there anything that you talked to the guys about playing in this building? Because it can be an intimidating thing with 9,000 in the building. Was there anything that you kind of showed the guys and your experience of playing here and against this team? How do you think that helped you tonight?
Yeah, I think just having confidence. Any team can be beat on any given day, and last year in the Sioux we lucked out. We won 3 out of our 4 games against them. So I had a lot of confidence coming into tonight, and I kind of shared that with the guys. And we were just on our game. We weren't worried about them. We were worried about ourselves. So yeah.
Brad, you weren't here last year, but I'm sure you looked at the numbers of the scores last year. How about Jacob Oster? What do you coming rebounding from that and coming back? What do you think about that?
Yeah, It's been a conversation about Ozzy all year. There was an opportunity, probably 8 or 9 games left in the season. He was trying to go for the all-time regular season wins in Oshawa Generals history. We had some pretty hard conversations in the back room about running him through to give him a full opportunity to get to that. At the end of the day, he fell short, and then we were able to rest him. I think last year, just based on conversations, I think they rode him pretty hot all the way in. Kind of came in a little bit not physically fit last year in the final series. So, just sharing the wisdom of last year, learning from the mistakes as a whole as an organization, and just tried to learn from it. And very fortunate that he's healthy and he's feeling good. And obviously, we've touched on it here tonight. He's the reason why we're talking about a win here.
There was head coach Brad Malone as well as defenseman Andrew Gibson following their 4-2 win in Game 1 of the OHL Championship against the London Knights. A lot of good stuff to unwind there, gentlemen. We'll start with Reece and then go to Colin and Joel. Reece, what were your takeaways from what was said there?
Yeah, first I want to go back to Joel's point before, and we're going to continue on the Oster train, and why not? He was also pulled in Game 1, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Last year?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, that's another thing to look at, the fact of, the performance that he put on after getting pulled in Game 1 last year, I think is something to sort of celebrate kind of as like a small victory. I'm sure it's not going to look back on that, but kind of like that small victory within the victory of, it is possible, when I'm fully healthy and I can fully play my position without any worry, it means a lot, and it pays off. So I just wanted to mention that. But in terms of Gibson, the 2 goals, I think when you get that secondary scoring from defensemen, it's not to say he doesn't score goals, but I think when you get into a series against a team like the London Knights, you can't just rely on your forwards to score all your goals, even if it is Colby Barlow, Beckett Seneca, Callum Ritchie, Owen Griffin. Even if you do have those guys up front, you still need to have those 2 to 3 guys that are producing those points from the back end. And again, whether they're goals, whether they're assists, I don't think the coaching staff's going to really give a crap. But as long as you're getting that production, you have a really good shot to win this series and bring home a championship. So I think for Gibson, he sounds very confident. The way he spoke, he sounded very confident about his game and his team's game. So that's really exciting to hear, because there wasn't a lot of that last year. So, and I'm sure Gibson wants his own revenge on the London Knights for when he's with Sioux. But just sounds very confident and sounds like they are ready to roll and trying to bring home another championship to Oshawa.
Colin?
Yeah, no, Reece, well said. Brad Malone handles himself really well. That press conference in a whole, we won Game 1, and every game gets harder to win.
Mm-hmm.
Every win's harder. They've hit adversity throughout the playoffs. They've overcome it. Oshawa, you can tell they're battle-tested, and you hear that in the post-game. I think that it's a business trip, and I really got the sense from their leadership. Brad Malone, you would think it's year 8 in the Ontario Hockey League as a coach, not year 1. And I thought he was incredible. I thought it was a really good press conference from Brad Malone and Andrew Gibson. What we heard from there, they're battle-tested, and I think that it's I'm honestly very excited to see what the Oshawa Generals can do, because Game 2 could be very interesting.
Joel, it's early on, but it seems like this is going to be a completely different series. Obviously, Oshawa winning a game more than they did all last season in the championship series, but it's got a different feel to it that this isn't just going to be the London show all over again. Oshawa, and you heard them in that post game, they are very confident right now.
Yeah, I think both Colin and Reece kind of hit the nail on the head there with the confidence that's coming from that group. And Andrew Gibson, he's played in big games. He played at the World Juniors. He's been in the OHL now. So Brad Malone won a Calder Cup with the Bakersfield Condors as a player. So it's not shell shock time for them anymore. It's okay. This is how we're gonna approach this. We've been in this, and you learn from your mistakes, and you continue to grow from that. And I think that's what Oshawa's done, and tonight was a prime example of that.
Anybody got any more comments before we hit to London side? Because I know Colin's got a lot to say after that one.
I got a lot to say.
Does that mean he's going first?
Oh, yeah, Colin's definitely going first for the London
Can't
one.
wait.
But, Reece, do you have any final thing from Oshawa or no?
I just think that it's been a productive trip so far. I think with a lot of the predictions out there, and I'll say it, I've picked London to win this series, but I'm pretty sure Oshawa is just taking the side of, okay, cool, we don't care what you think, we're just going to go out and play, and that's worked to their advantage, both against Brampton, against Brantford, against Barrie. Like they beat 2 division winners to get here in the Bulldogs and the Colts. So just to hear. It didn't sound like there was a sigh of relief or a weight off their shoulders. That's not really the right way to say it, but you can tell that they're here. And it's not the Oshawa Generals. It's the Oshawa Generals, and we're gonna fight the London Knights for this championship.
Yeah, they definitely don't seem like they're backing down, and Roger Hunt talked about that. Didn't matter who they were going up against, they were confident in whoever they would face, and again, that's the kind of the attitude that they have to have in a series like this against a juggernaut team that was 12-0 coming in. So let's get to London Knights side with head coach Dale Hunter. It's going to be a quick one, and forward Kasper Halttunen, but we got a lot of reaction to it, so here's what they had to say following the game.
Back with more post-game coverage of Game 1 of the OHL Championship Series, joined by London Knights head coach Dale Hunter, along with forward Kasper Halttunen. Coach, end of the third with the lead tonight, but it wasn't to be. Maybe you can just share your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, we had some good looks, and we didn't score, and they had a couple good looks too, and it's opportunities, and they got them in.
Kasper, a goal tonight. Not too often the London Knights lose a game, but you've been part of this team to periods where you've had to bounce back from adversity. Maybe you can just share the mood in the room right now and how you guys are going to turn things around.
I think this could be a good thing for us now, kind of fighting through adversity here, and, it could be a really good thing for us now.
Take questions, guys.
Dale, the power plays were 9-3. In your view of the game, did you feel that discrepancy was warranted?
Well, you can't talk about the referee, and they did a great job.
What was their? You challenged to knock out the goalie interference on Colin there. What was their explanation after they had the longer view for it?
They said they made contact first. He did. Colin did.
Did you see it that way?
They seen it different than I did.
Kasper, what did you think tonight when you scored that goal? 9,000 in the building, getting off their feet. In the OHL Championship 3 years in a row in front of this crowd. What does that mean to you?
Oh, it means a lot. I mean, coming in here every night, in front of the fans, it's unbelievable, and something that you just dream of as a young kid, and able to score a big goal for us. It was a lot of fun.
And coach, just how do you keep the guys focused there? When you get a lot of penalties and the guys get frustrated, how do you kind of keep them grounded and keep them going out every shift after?
No, they're good. They just go play the game.
You preached discipline all year with these guys. Were they undisciplined, or was it?
It was just one of those games. Sometimes.
You remember how you scored on Jacob Oster last year? That the goals were pretty big. What did you think of?
He was good.
Kasper, what did you think is the difference from the team you saw last year in the finals to this year? Upping your game and knowing it was not going to be as easy as a series this time around.
Yeah, they have a good team, really good team, and we gotta respect that. But I still think we didn't give our best tonight, and we can be better, and we can beat those guys.
Kasper, I'd just like to ask you about the play of Noah Reed and Rene Van Bommel. Big goal there. What can you say about those guys and the role they play on this team and stepping up in the moments they have?
It's huge. Those guys, when they're at the rink, always smiling and doing everything they can for the team, and now that they were able to score a big goal for us, get us going, that was huge, and I'm happy for them.
There were head coach Dale Hunter and Kasper Halttunen on the post game from London side. Colin, I know you've been waiting an hour and a half. You're fired up about this, and I'll just leave it to you.
All right, there's a reason why to be a coach in the professional ranks, to be an NHL coach, you have to be able to handle media, and there's a reason why that's not coming anytime soon. From what I just heard, I mean, you have a person that's covered the team for 20 years, and that's what you want to get. So I just think that's not a very professional conduct of interview. I really liked Kasper Halttunen's interview, though. That was pretty good. That's a pro. At least you got pro answers there, Brandon. But I'll just leave it at that. Don't want to get in too much trouble. But yeah, I can't believe that. I could not believe that. And I honestly, you look around social media, you hear so many tough answers. You see so many tough questions. I mean, heck, look at Toronto. I mean, you imagine, you think Craig Berube doesn't hear that? Like, I don't know. Like I say, I have a lot of respect for Dale Hunter, but I don't have a lot of respect for that interview. You're going to take time out of your day. You give an effort to cover the team, and that's the response you're going to get. I don't like that. I really don't. I don't have a lot of respect for that. Gets the blood going, but hey, Kasper Halttunen, heck of an interview. Way to teach. Way to be a coach. That's why you'll be in the pro ranks. Handling the media is part of a pro job, so I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, not much. I mean, not much. You didn't have to use a shot clock, Brandon, so that's good. In the interview, sometimes when the big person loses a game, they take their ball and they go home, and that's what we got in the post game. We really, honestly, boys, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but what did we get out of that? I mean, I wish that there's a little more. I wish that just on the answers, the questions were great, but the answers, I mean, I don't know. Like I was disappointed by that. I expected more. You lose your first time in the postseason. Brandon, you've been covering it all, playoffs in London. I mean, Ryan Pyatt's been there for 20 years. You guys have put your work in. I mean, I expected more for you guys. Like I said, that's why my blood's boiling. And I mean, I really feel bad for you guys that put your time and effort in for that, and that's the response you get. I know for a fact that if Oshawa lost, that wouldn't have been the case. And it sounded to me, now into the hockey process, what I took from that interview, it sounded like London wasn't prepared for Oshawa. That's what that sounded like. They weren't prepared. Took 9 penalties, right?
Reece, and again, based off of Colin's point there, and I can't disagree with anything that he said, and I know Colin respects Dale Hunter a lot, and we all do, but it's hard to go out there after a loss, and after a loss, Dale isn't going to give you a lot, and I also know that he doesn't want to have to get a fine or anything if you start talking about officiating, which you've seen other coaches get and things like that as well, but I think there's a fine line there, Reece. I don't know if you got any comments there.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear what his thoughts were. I know he said he thought it was great, but I think we can read between the lines and kind of understand what he was saying. He kind of had a few hand gestures, and nothing offensive, obviously, but they showed on television a few times with the hand about the dive. But it was nice to get the explanation, at least what the officials saw on the goaltender interference. I kind of thought that's what they'd say, that Cowan made contact first, and they were right. It was a lot closer than I thought it would be. I thought it had a better chance to get overturned. Obviously, it stayed no goal, but I digress. But I mean, from Halttunen, he said it first time facing adversity, and it might be a good thing. And if they were to get past the Oshawa Generals and get to the Memorial Cup, it's not going to be a cakewalk. Obviously, you've got Moncton and Rimouski, who have their tickets booked for the Memorial Cup. And then it'd be either Spokane or Medicine Hat. I'm really pushing for Medicine Hat. I kind of want to see Gavin McKenna play in the Memorial Cup, but
Be sick.
It's not going to be a cakewalk. Like, as much as you could sweep your way through the Memorial Cup, it's possible, but it's not going to be easy. You're not going to be able to do it just by showing up. So I like that he said that. He understands that this isn't the Owen Sound Attack. It's not the Erie Otters. As good as the Kitchener Rangers were, London still was able to win that one in 4 games. So they've got hard work ahead of them, and it's only 1 game. Obviously, the next one's at home. So if you get a split, now you have to steal one in Oshawa. So there's I'm sure they found positives, but we really didn't get a whole lot of positives or negatives out of that press conference.
Joel Halttunen basically said, maybe we needed this. And again, when you're riding high and you haven't lost a whole game in the entire playoffs, it's a good thing, but it can also be something like they ran into tonight, where they just haven't been in a lot of those scenarios, having the goalie pulled on their end and trying to get a late goal to tie it. So what did you think of what Kasper Halttunen said there, and what do you think that message kind of goes through the room?
Yeah, I think I like a lot of what he said, and I agree, right? There hasn't been a ton of adversity for them. Maybe adversity in some games, but they haven't lost. So I think what you'll see from this London team is they're going to clean up a lot of those little mistakes, a lot of the undisciplined play. They're going to bounce back from this. They're going to learn from this, and they're going to give their best shot Saturday night, and we're going to see how they handle this. And I think, too, another point is that they don't have Denver Barkey, who's a sounding board for that team. He's the captain of that team, and I think you can kind of see maybe that's creeping into their game a little bit, not having him now out. And ankle sprains are not easy to come back from, so we'll see. Hopefully he can get back in this championship series, but if not, I think you kind of see them missing him tonight a little bit.
Great point, Joel. Off the ice, Barkey's still doing what he can as the captain, but when you're not on that bench and you're not be able to, direct things as the captain, it's a little bit more difficult. They did get Evan Van Gort back tonight, but again, still without Denver Barkey, as Joel mentioned there. Colin, I know you're still fired up from that press conference, but
No.
we'll try to wrangle you back here, with Barkey winning the humanitarian award for the OHL this year and everything he brings off the ice, but his on-ice presence is something that is sorely missed too, even though they do have 12 other NHL prospects.
Well, 100%. Like what Joel said, he's a lifeline to that team. I mean, he's the voice. That's the captain of your team for a reason, right? When you have the captain of the London Knights, who are an historic organization, it's a big deal to be the captain of the London Knights. And I think that when you look at Barkey, he brings to the table on the ice with that veteran presence. Maybe a game like tonight when they get a power play. I mean, 1 for 3 on the power play. I mean, that's fine. But maybe you go 2 for 3 with a guy like Barkey. The opportunities 5-on-5. When you look how good London was 5-on-5, right? You throw Denver Barkey out there with Easton Cowan. Maybe there's another opportunity. Short-handed, they clog lanes as well. He's just so shifty. Barkey is, and he's such a dynamic player, right? He makes such a big difference on the ice for them as well, not just off the ice. And I think that you obviously miss him. He's your captain, and I think that with Barkey out, you need someone to step up. You're asking more out of a third-line player. Your fourth line. I mean, you look at the fourth line, right? You look at guys like Reed. Those guys played a lot tonight for game 1. Maybe if Barkey's playing, right, that's one less shift in the fourth line. Not that it was a fault, but, you look at the opportunities, right, that are given there, and someone's got to step up in a bigger role. And with Barkey out of the lineup, you lose that. You lose that trust that you built in your captain, which is obviously tough to miss out on.
So final thoughts from everybody. I know it's only 1 game, but it's a big momentum boost for Oshawa in the series as the road team, as I mentioned in the postgame there, where they were able to take game 1 on the road in Barrie, which Barrie hadn't lost a home game in the playoffs until that point, and then Oshawa obviously, wins both on the road and then goes home and wins both at home. So for them to take one here at Canada Life Place, Reece, I know you hate the old adage, you're not bad until you lose at home. Well, if that's the London Knights, then they're obviously a little bit concerned knowing that technically for the time being, they've lost home ice. But again, if they win it right back with the next game, with the next win. But, final thoughts on Oshawa trying to build some momentum going into Game 2, because that London's going to bring their best effort after their first loss of the entire playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. I hate that stupid saying. I think it's dumb. Yeah, I mean, for the Knights, you just have to win on the road. They're undefeated on the road in the playoffs.
True.
Obviously,
Yeah.
they were undefeated until this point, right? And I mean, for the Generals, they've won 4 road games in a row. Going back to Game 5 against Brantford, and then you take two in Barrie, and then 1 here. So they're kind of humming right now. I think for the Knights, if you can find a way to get on the board early in game number 2, I think you do yourselves a really good job of keeping the building in it, but also getting out to a lead and maybe not having to worry so much about taking penalties. Obviously, you don't want to, but it's not as big a factor if you get a multiple goal lead. So I think for the Knights, they'll be fine. I expect them to make their adjustments and come back hard for game number 2. And again, it sounds simple. It's not. But for them, you have to take game 2. That's number 1. They're not even thinking about games 3 and 4 right now. But if you take game 2, okay, you just got to take game 3 or 4, then you're back in the driver's seat. So I think they'll be fine. They got to tighten some things up. Don't take stupid penalties, and they'll be fine.
Joel, your final thoughts heading into Saturday?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Reece said. I mean, they don't lose very often. They definitely don't lose back-to-back often. So I think like what Reece said, you score early, you get the crowd into it, you clean up a little bit of that undisciplined play. And I think they're back to being the old London Knights. And not to say that Oshawa's not going to reinvent a little bit of what they did and come up with an even stronger game plan. So I think it's going to be a chess match. It's going to be a long series, and I think that's the exciting part about this all.
Colin, like a good closer's pitching motion, take us home.
All right. I think that the power play, obviously you can't give them that much chances in game 2. I think London's going to come out very hard. They're a responsive team. They've responded all year. When they've had to respond the few times they've dominated. When they lose 1, that means they have to go on another 12-game winning streak. We've saw this all year. And I think that you just got to get your confidence. By gaining confidence, you just got to have a couple good shits. You got to get rewarded. I mean, Jacob Osher's going to make those extra saves, right? And you just got to come out. You got to have a good start. You got to dictate the play, and you can't take penalties. If the London Knights don't take penalties tonight, they probably win the game. And I think 5-on-5, they showcased they were the better team. Penalties are a part of the game, and it's a big part of the games. Power plays win you games. Penalty kills can lose you games in the postseason, and that's what happened tonight. I think you got to clean up the special teams. You got to limit the opportunities by a lot, and if you can do that, you'll be successful. And I expect 5-on-5 them to have a hard start, similar to tonight. I expect to see a hard start, but we'll see what happens. I don't know about the adjustments if London will be too adjustable, but I expect they'll be more around the net, and they'll have a really hard start. So I'm excited to see the start in game 2. Oshawa has a very good opportunity, and they're not going to go down lightly. Another side note, Brandon, I just want to mention, guys, the Mem Cup patches are gone. What do we think of that?
Yeah.
Man.
I miss it.
I like the 113th J.Ross Robertson Cup logo that you guys mentioned on the OHL and 60. That was nice.
Logo's great, but the No Mem Cup patch, I mean, that's the first time as long as I can remember in my lifetime, and so it's kind of weird, that's all. Watching the game.
You know what I will say? Thank God we don't have those stupid electronic things inside the blue lines like the NHL does, and it's actually painted on the ice. Looks way better. Love 100%. That the OHL still does that.
Take notes, NHL, and put NHL playoffs back in the blue lines. That's unbelievable too.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so Austin Elliott suffers only his second loss the entire OHL season, and the Oshawa Generals take a 1-0 lead in the series. We'll see how the London Knights respond. They know how this game and the series is going to be officiated now, so London's got to be smarter with some of the little stuff that they like to do, in between plays and trying to keep it more disciplined going into Game 2 here on Saturday at Canada Life Place. We'll be live with you guys once again for that game. Colin, Joel, Reece, thanks so much for joining us on a late night with TSN's broadcast going a little bit late with the extra commercials and the post game and everything like that. I know you guys all work in the morning, so always appreciate the time.
No problem. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Brandon.
Joel?
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to doing this a couple more times. We'll see how long it goes, but hopefully we get to do this at least a few more times.
So that's going to wrap up our OHL Postgame Posse Roundtable right here live on the Armchair GM Sports Network by OHL Overtime and the OHL in 60 podcast with our collaboration here for Game 1 of the OHL Championship Series between the London Knights and the Oshawa Generals. Oshawa taking this one 4-2. Thank you to everybody that tuned in live on our YouTube channel and those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. So for Joel Vanderlaan, Reece, Doumani, and Colin Ward, my name is Brandon Caputo. We'll be back with you for Game 2 of the OHL Championship Series. Have yourself a great night.